Hello there, well my name's Mark and obviously if you're on the website you'll be aware of me and Joe and the work we do concerning unvented hot water cylinders. Today, or this particular reason we're doing this today, is for the Megaflow type system. Very popular with installers and customers alike, mainly because of the space. This particular system incorporates an expansion vessel or an air pocket in the top of the cylinder, and the idea is that this will absorb or take the movement inside of the hot water or the expansion when the cylinder actually gets hot. We have a cold mains coming in at the bottom that fills the cylinder up from the bottom, and then it compresses the air at the top. Then we have a heating connection from the boiler coming round through a coil inside that generates the heat for your hot water that you're going to draw off to your showers and your baths. Now obviously if you're not drawing water, that water will expand, and for that reason we have to have an air pocket there so that the water can compress that air when it's being heated. Obviously when it cools down, the compressed air takes up the space again. Now this is a wonderful system and very, very efficient, but potentially you could be sitting on a bomb if it hasn't been installed correctly or if it's poorly maintained. And for this reason we carry out a lot of maintenance and repairs and installations on this type of system. If you look at it generally, if we look at the safety controls involved, obviously it's got to be very safe concerning the pressure build up inside. First of all, if we look at the top of the cylinder over to the right hand side, as you see here on the green pipe coming in, we have what's called a composite valve, or what I would call a pressure reducing valve. Chris, who's doing the filming, has got other names for it, but generally speaking people in the industry know what it does and what it is, irrelevant what they call it. This is quite an important piece of kit and it needs to be checked and serviced quite regularly. It does 2 or 3 different jobs. The black head on the left hand side, that contains what's called a pressure reducing valve or some form of limiter for the system. And this actually protects you and your household and the Megaflow from any excess pressures that might build up out in the main service in the road. Because if you do know at some times or at some points, especially when there's no demand on the system, pressure can build up to 10 bar overnight. And obviously you don't want that getting into your taps and blowing your washers, etc, etc. So this valve's there mainly for the protection of your home against excess pressure coming from the road. Also there as a backup we have what's called a pressure relief valve, and this is set at 8 bar. Now hopefully if you were to have an excess pressure or a problem with this valve, this will hopefully open and discharge at 8 bar, therefore relieving the pressure and running off to a safe place or a safe distance away from your home, preferably into a drain of some kind, and then that will continually run until the pressure is reduced. This is where we come round now to the front of the cylinder. We start looking down the front here and we see another safety valve. Now this safety valve is for temperature and pressure. If in the event that the temperature was to get too high, which means the water will be expanding at a phenomenal rate, or if the pressure gets too high, hopefully this will do the same job as our other valve up here, and this will open and discharge. Now obviously unless you're outside looking at the drain pipe 24 hours a day, which obviously you're not going to know if this is going on. This is where this device comes in. This is what's called a Tundish. Now I wouldn't advise you to do this, especially if you have got water running through it, but as you can see, if I put my finger through there, you can see, I can see right through the valve at all times. And the idea of this is a visual indication for you and us, so that if we come out to Megaflow, or if you look at it, if you see water running out of this Tundish and running down through the discharge pipework, the vessel is telling you that there's actually something wrong. Okay? Now that means that you've either got too much pressure or you may have lost your air pocket in the top. Now every year this vessel needs to be recharged, or the air pocket needs to be purged out and recharged up with some fresh air in there. So over a period of time you will lose the air. Now if you do need to do this, it's quite a simple operation, although obviously it is an unvented cylinder, and usually on the side of the cylinder here, as you'll see, there's a label, and it's not that difficult to do yourself. You've got important notice there, obviously warning you that you are touching some fairly volatile equipment, but there are simple instructions laid out 1 to 5 where you can follow the process through yourself, so you should be able to recharge this pocket quite easily without too many problems. But it's not a problem anyway, because if we come out to service the vessel, this is one of the things, the most basic fundamental things that we would do on a service charge or service call anyway. So that's our pressure relief valve, temperature and pressure. We have a pressure relief valve on the mains coming in and a pressure reducing valve. So the whole thing's covered in safety devices. Furthermore, if we go down to the bottom of the cylinder, so we have a look down the bottom here, we will see this grey cover. Now, under no circumstances would I recommend that you open this cover, even if you have turned the electricity off. Because inside this cover are the electrical control systems for the whole setup. In here we have all the wiring connections and controls from our boiler, our central heating system and our hot water services. As a backup, on the right hand side we have an electrical thermostat, immersion heater, which has got an electrical thermostat control, and built into that we have an overheat stat as well. So if the immersion heater overheats, it cuts the power off and hopefully stops the vessel getting too hot. We also have what's called a thermal cutout. Now the idea of this is that if the vessel was to get to a certain temperature that's beyond any safe limits, this would actually cut off the power to your heating and your boiler, so the boiler would stop heating up the cylinder. So overall we have a lot of safety controls. So even if you have looked at the video below where you see two crazy Americans blowing up one of these things just for a bit of fun, don't panic, don't ring the fire brigade, okay? It's as safe as houses. That's why we incorporate all these safety devices into the machine and the appliance for your safety. However, that's not to say that it's not a good idea to get it checked and serviced every year. These valves need to be made sure that they are actually operating correctly and safely. Now obviously if you do get someone in to do this sort of work, we do have to be licensed and regulated nowadays. So it's really important you find out the people who are coming in to do the work are actually qualified and they do actually know what they're doing. Otherwise you could end up with these two Americans down below me on the video in your home doing that to your roof, and it won't be funny, believe me. Anyway, I hope that's been useful, and if you've got any problems, by all means drop us an email, or you can give Joe a call. We'd be more than happy to talk to you about any problems you've got. And I'm going to go and have a cup of tea with my mate now, so see you later.
Bye bye.